Hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Mise, and today we are back with a brand new video. Now, I'm obviously very behind on this, and I wanted to talk about it because it kind of addresses an issue that I've had with the anime community, not necessarily the anime community, but the anime industry for a little while now, and this probably is one of the more egregious actions of that issue. But by now you probably heard the news, and if you haven't, well, then let me explain. A couple of weeks ago, the Promised Neverland studio, or whatever studio is doing that, or the Promised Neverland crew, has announced that they will no longer be sticking to the manga for the anime, and rather they will be basing the rest of the story off its own original plot. So after I think around episode 5 or 6, after basically the recap episode, we will be getting a whole new story, and we will no longer be following anything the manga has been telling. I guess that started a little earlier, or it started in the episode before the recap episode, because there were certain events in that did not coincide with the manga, but long story short, it's no longer going to be following the manga. Now, this is a big deal because the whole first season followed the manga. From what I remember, and from what I've been told, everything that happened in the first season is basically what happened in those first couple of volumes for Promised Neverland. And for them to now switch it halfway through the season, people obviously aren't happy about that. And personally, I don't really blame people for getting mad. There have been multiple situations where people have done a very faithful adaptation of a manga's anime for the first season, only to strive away from that in the second season. It kind of feels like a weird trap to get that hype and to get people really attached to the show, only for you to change it and people not be invested for that original reason. It also goes similar and coincides with people who cut off stuff from the anime to not really make sense in the manga. Basically, there are some people or some studios that will cut off pieces from the manga, translate that to anime, and like mix it up into a way where it doesn't really break down well with this. People may disagree with me on this, but I think one of the more problematic versions of this is Attack on Titan, where now reading the manga, I have realized that there are very vital pieces that I think would have made this more enjoyable for myself and personally more enjoyable for the rest of the audience. And it seems like they have just gutted a good portion of that just to make it a more condensed story. But in my personal opinion, it hasn't really felt that enjoyable for the most part. Not only is it just a bad way to adaptate a story, and it creates a weird sense of bad storytelling, but you also just kind of give the middle finger to the fans and tell them that, yeah, we did this way, but we're not going to do it anymore. Now, obviously, things happen, things change, but without any proper reason to properly do it, it just becomes a really weird mess of things that I don't think anyone on either side truly wanted. The only show or anime that I can remember where it adapted its manga and changed some things for the anime was Made in Abyss. And Made in Abyss did this because there were some very problematic scenes in that manga that just would not have translated well into anime. And that makes sense if something is going to be problematic or if something is going to be explored in an unhealthy and negative way. Then those changes make sense because a point of the anime is to bring out the best within the manga. So doing those changes or altering those changes in order to make it a more positive light, or address those things in a healthier light, or fix things that make it non-controversial, is a good thing, is a thing that you should do because it helps in order to make it more digestible for viewers. Will you have to go back and actually read the manga in order to get the context and compare it to the anime? Yes. But I think that's a small price to pay in order to appreciate the media that it is basing itself off of, and understanding its changes, why it made those changes, and why those changes are important for that anime. Promise Neverland going and changing its story from the manga to a original story doesn't necessarily make sense, and it doesn't necessarily have any real reason. It seems like we were also robbed of some pretty decent arcs as well, where people were very upset that we don't get the Goldie Pond arc, and it does seem like there's a very touching moment, a couple touching moments in the manga that we'll never really get to see. But that is a real issue. It's a real big issue that we can't really do anything about because we're not those anime studios, and all we can really do is make videos like these in order to vocalize those issues that we have. Honestly, at the end of the day, I just think studios should either do three things. Either A, if you're going to base an anime on a manga and make a anime adaptation, then you should be as faithful to the manga as you should be. If you want to make an original story and give your own spin on how that would be, definitely talk to the author about it, see what changes you would like to go through, and then make it with potentially the author's approval in order to make those changes. Or if you really, really want to, just make your own original story. Something that we don't get a lot in anime, which is understandable because a lot of them have to be based on some popular stories, but something that we don't get a lot of is original stories in anime. The only one I can really remember from very recently is BNA, or Brand New Animal. While I did find this story kind of lackluster and a little bit boring, I gotta give credit to Studio Trigger from going ahead and making an original story. It's not based on anything, it's not based on a manga or a light novel, it is purely an original work, and I think that is what makes me appreciate something like BNA. I don't think it's great, I don't think it's the most fantastical thing, but I will always have BNA in my mind as a pretty successful original anime work, and one that I can at least appreciate for what it is. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it is a little sad to see so many people turn its back on Promise Neverland. While I do understand it, I do at least say we should at least entertain the idea of seeing what these people are going to have in store for the new story, because we don't know what it could be. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be touching, it could be horrible. I don't know if it can compare to the manga. I'm not going to have to read the manga in order to compare it to this season, but I do personally think that in order to make something good, we should at least give it a chance for it to be good. Shutting it out like this very quickly doesn't really do much help. So I think we should at least give it a chance. If it is good, we can praise it for being a good original story or original spin to the manga story. Or if it's bad, we can properly critique it and tell them to never fucking do this again. But I'm gonna be honest, with it like changing the story and Promise Neverland seemingly just falling out of conversation for the most part, do not be surprised if this show doesn't get a second season. I don't know if it will. I don't know if it has enough traction to do that. I just saw a lot of people just go ahead and drop this show for switching from the manga to an original story. So if it doesn't get a second season from this point, I wouldn't be surprised. And I wouldn't also be surprised if it got enough traction to actually get the Brotherhood treatment, where someone actually goes back and makes a actual anime for that manga that actually follows the manga, which I think would actually be pretty fucking interesting to see. We don't really get that before, so it would be really good to see that again. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you think about the Promise Neverland change. Are you interested in the original story, or are you just writing it off because it's not following the manga? If you like this video, make sure to like this video, and if you like the content I bring, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you want to check everything else I make, my music, my podcast, my social medias, all that type of stuff, all that's going to be in the link in the description below, and I will see you all within the next video. Oh my god. Bye.